Imagine becoming the ruler of one of the world's greatest empires, only to lose your crown within 24 hours. This isn't fiction. This is the real story of Lady Jane Grey, a teenage girl who became Queen of England for just 9 days. But what really happened during those 9 days of chaos? And why did history almost erase her name? Stay tuned, because this is a story of betrayal, power, and one of the most tragic rises and falls in royal history. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to Lost Truths, where we uncover the mysteries and forgotten figures history tried to bury. We often think history remembers the powerful, the kings, the conquerors, the emperors who shaped nations. But the truth, history forgets those who were used pawns in a game of power, sacrificed for someone else's ambition. Lady Jane Grey was one of them. Born into privilege, yes, but surrounded by deceit, manipulation, and greed. She was intelligent, well-educated, fluent in multiple languages, and deeply religious. Yet her brilliance couldn't save her from becoming a political puppet in one of England's darkest secessions. While history celebrates figures like Henry VIII or Elizabeth I, Jane's story was buried under the weight of scandal and silence. Why? Because Jane's brief reign exposed how fragile power truly is, and how quickly a crown can turn into a death sentence. Lady Jane Grey never wanted to be queen. Her story isn't one of ambition, it's one of manipulation. She was only 16 when powerful men, including her father-in-law John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, plotted to place her on the throne after King Edward VI's death. Edward, young and dying, was desperate to keep England Protestant. His half-sister Mary, a devout Catholic, was next in line. So Northumberland convinced Edward to name Jane, his Protestant cousin, as heir instead. A teenage girl caught in a dangerous religious war between Protestant reformers and Catholic loyalists. And within days of Edward's death in 1553, let's break down her unbelievable 9-day reign and how it spiraled into tragedy. When Jane was told she was to be queen, she didn't celebrate. She cried. Historical records say she fell to the ground and declared, "The crown is not my right, and it pleases me not." But Northumberland wouldn't take no for an answer. He needed Jane on the throne, because once she became queen, he would hold the true power behind her. Jane was proclaimed Queen of England. Trumpets blared across London. Coins were minted in her name, but the people weren't cheering. Most of England still saw Mary Tudor. Jane's reign began with uncertainty and would soon end with betrayal. Mary wasn't hiding. She was rallying. As news of Jane's coronation spread, Mary escaped her pursuers and began gathering supporters across the country. Towns declared for her one by one. The English army, sent to stop her, began defecting, and soon the very nobles who had sworn loyalty to Jane realized the tide was turning. They abandoned her to save themselves. Within 9 days, Mary's forces had taken London. Jane's own council turned on her, and on July 19, 1553, Lady Jane Grey, Queen of England, was deposed. Her short reign was over before it ever truly began. Even after losing the throne, Jane thought she might be spared. She wrote to Mary, calling her Your Majesty, and accepted her fate humbly. For a while, Mary hesitated. She didn't want to execute her young cousin, but politics is poison. After a failed rebellion against Queen Mary, the Wyatt Rebellion, in which Highness' father played a role, Mary's advisors pushed her hand. They claimed Jane remained a symbol of Protestant resistance. If she lived, rebellions might never stop. So, on February 12, 1554, at just 17 years old, Lady Jane Grey was executed at the Tower of London. She walked calmly to the scaffold. Her last words were simple: "Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit." Witnesses said she couldn't find the block at first, and cried, "What shall I do? Where is it?" Then, when guided by the executioner, she laid down her head and met her fate with dignity beyond her years. After her death, Mary's government erased Jane's name from official records. Her reign was declared illegitimate. She was buried in a small chapel beside her husband. No grand tomb, No monuments, just silence. It wasn't until centuries later that historians pieced together the truth that Jane wasn't a usurper. She was a victim, a pawn caught between powerful families, religions, and ambitions. And though she ruled for only 9 days, her story endures because it exposes the cruel mechanics of power, how even a queen can be disposable when politics turns deadly. What makes Lady Jane Grey's story so haunting is how modern it feels. A young woman, used by men who promised her safety, but led her to ruin, a teenager forced into leadership without consent and blamed for decisions she didn't make. In a way, her story mirrors countless others throughout history, those whose names were erased because they didn't fit the narrative of greatness. But make no mistake, Jane wasn't weak. She stood by her faith. She refused to convert even when offered her life in exchange. And her letters, written from the Tower before her death, show wisdom far beyond her age. In one of her final writings, she said, "I am condemned without law or justice, but I will suffer all things with patience." Those are not the words of a victim. They are the words of someone who understood the cost of truth. Why does the story of a forgotten queen from 500 years ago still strike a chord today? Because it reminds us that power is fragile, and truth is often rewritten by the victors. Lady Jane Grey's brief reign is more than a tragic story. It's a warning. It shows how ambition can corrupt, how manipulation destroys innocence, and how early history can silence those who didn't get to tell their side. Every century has its Jane Grey people used as symbols, discarded when convenient, then remembered only when it's safe. But her courage, her quiet resistance, echoes across time. And for 9 days, through principle. If this story moved you, if it made you question how many other names history might have buried, then don't let Lady Jane Grey be forgotten again. Where we uncover the hidden stories of history, it's the lost voices. And if you enjoyed this story, you'll love our next episode, where we reveal the secret life of another forgotten monarch, whose disappearance changed an entire dynasty. So, what do you think? Was Lady Jane Grey truly a queen, or just a puppet in a deadly royal game? And how many other rulers throughout history never truly ruled at all? Subscribe to Lost Truths and share this story with others, so history never forgets those it once tried to erase.